Between 2003 and 2011, 17 people vanished along a 40-mile stretch of Highway 32 in rural Idaho. Not all at once, not in a pattern obvious enough to trigger immediate alarm. Just one person every few months. A hitchhiker here, a stranded motorist there, a truck driver who never completed his route. What made these disappearances different from typical missing persons cases was the consistency of the final sightings. Every single victim was last seen accepting help from the same person. A man in his 50s, average height, wearing a flannel shirt, driving a blue pickup truck. And every witness who saw this man described the same unsettling detail. He never stopped smiling. Not a friendly smile, a fixed, unblinking smile that didn't reach his eyes. This is the true story of how one man used America's most basic instinct, helping strangers in need, to feed an appetite that still haunts investigators today. October 14th, 2003. 21-year-old Cassidy Brennan was driving home from Boise State University for fall break when her car broke down on Highway 32, about 15 miles from the nearest town. It was 9:30 p.m. She called her father to let him know she'd be late, that her car was overheating and that she'd wait for a tow truck. "I'll come get you," her father offered. "Dad, you're 2 hours away. I'll be fine." A says they'll be here in 45 minutes. Those were the last words her father heard from her. The tow truck arrived at 10:15 p.m. to find Cassidy's car abandoned, doors unlocked, her purse and phone on the passenger seat. And her father arrived at 11:20 p.m. to find police already on scene. The investigation revealed something chilling. Cassidy's last call to her father was at 9:31 p.m., but her phone records showed she'd made another call at 9:47 p.m., a 16-second call to 911 that was never completed. The call connected, but no one spoke. Dispatch could only hear what sounded like wind, a car engine, and in the background, something that might have been crying. 3 days later, a witness came forward. A local rancher driving home that night had passed Cassidy's car around 9:40 p.m. He saw her talking to a man in a blue pickup truck. The man was leaning out his window, smiling broadly, apparently offering assistance. The rancher thought nothing of it, just a good Samaritan helping a stranded motorist. He remembered the smile, though. It didn't match the situation, he told police, like he was smiling at a private joke nobody else understood. Cassidy Brennan was never found. Not her body, not her clothes, not a single trace. She simply ceased to exist after accepting help from a smiling stranger. Over the next 3 years, 5 more people disappeared from Highway 32 under nearly identical circumstances. Vehicle breakdowns, late evening hours, last seen accepting help from a man in a blue pickup truck. Always the same description, 50s, flannel shirt, never stopped smiling. But these weren't official disappearances yet. They were scattered across different jurisdictions, different counties, different police departments. Each case was investigated separately. The pattern wasn't visible until someone connected the dots. That someone was Detective Lauren Whitmore of the Idaho State Police. In 2006, she was assigned to investigate the disappearance of Marcus Chen, a 28-year-old software engineer whose rental car was found abandoned on Highway 32. While researching similar cases, she noticed the repetition. Highway 32, vehicle trouble, evening hours, blue pickup truck, smiling man. She compiled 6 cases with identical characteristics. 6 people vanished without a trace, all after encountering the same helpful stranger. She brought her findings to her supervisor. Could be coincidence, he said. Could be different men. Blue pickup trucks aren't exactly rare. What about the smile? Whitmore asked. 6 different witnesses across 3 years, all describing the same unsettling smile. Her supervisor authorized a deeper investigation, and what Whitmore uncovered made the case infinitely more disturbing. Detective Whitmore discovered something unusual. In 5 of the 6 cases, the victim's vehicle had no mechanical problems. Cassidy Brennan's car had an empty coolant reservoir, easily fixed. Marcus Chen's rental car had disconnected battery terminals, a 2-minute repair. Another victim's car had sugar poured into the gas tank, but the engine ran fine. The sugar hadn't reached the fuel injection system yet. Someone was sabotaging vehicles, not enough to cause immediate danger, but enough to make them stop. Enough to make the drivers vulnerable. But how? How could one person sabotage multiple vehicles without being noticed? The answer was terrifyingly simple. Rest stops. Highway 32 had 3 rest stops along its route. Each was isolated, poorly lit, and with minimal security cameras, and those that existed hadn't worked in years. Whitmore reviewed the timeline of each disappearance and found that every victim had stopped at one of these 3 rest stops within 2 hours of vanishing. The smiling man, as investigators now called him, was hunting at rest stops. He'd watch for solo travelers, particularly vulnerable targets. Young women, elderly drivers, anyone who looked lost or tired. While they used the facilities, he'd sabotage their vehicles just enough to ensure breakdown within the next 10 to 20 miles. Then he'd drive ahead, wait for them to break down, and appear as a friendly rescuer. The predator disguised as a savior. The trap disguised as help. November 2006. Sarah Vega, a 33-year-old nurse driving home after a night shift, stopped at the Mile 47 rest stop on Highway 32. She used the restroom, bought a coffee from the vending machine, and got back in her car. 15 minutes later, her car began losing power. She coasted to the shoulder and tried restarting. Nothing. She called AAA and settled in to wait. 10 minutes passed. Then she saw headlights approaching from behind. A blue pickup truck pulled up behind her. A man got out. 50s, flannel shirt, friendly demeanor. "Need some help?" he called out, walking toward her car. Sarah rolled down her window 2 inches. "I've got AAA coming, but thanks. I'm pretty good with cars. Might be something simple. Pop the hood. I'll take a quick look." There was something about his smile that made Sarah uncomfortable. It was too wide, too constant. He smiled while he talked, smiled while he walked, smiled while he stood by her car, waiting for her to pop the hood. "Really, I'm fine. But thank you." His smile widened. "I insist. It's no trouble." Sarah's nursing instincts kicked in, the ones that helped her identify when patients were lying or when something was wrong, despite normal vital signs. This man was wrong. Everything about him was wrong. "I need you to leave," she said firmly. "Now." The smile never wavered. "I'm just trying to help. Leave or I'm calling 911. He stood there for what felt like an eternity, just smiling at her through the window. Then he walked back to his truck. But he didn't drive away. He pulled ahead about 50 yards and parked, still blocking her in against the guardrail. Sarah called 911. The dispatcher kept her on the line. "Can you describe the vehicle blocking you?" "Blue pickup truck, older model. Can't see the plate from here." Sarah stopped. And the man had gotten out of his truck and was walking back toward her, still smiling that horrible smile. Sarah locked her doors and leaned on her horn. The sound echoed through the empty highway. The man stopped walking but didn't retreat. He just stood there in the road, illuminated by her headlights, smiling. "Mom, I'm showing you on mile 48 of Highway 32. We have a unit 3 minutes away." The man tilted his head, as if considering something. Then he walked back to his truck. This time, he drove away. The state trooper arrived 4 minutes later. Sarah's car issue: disconnected battery terminal, a 30-second fix. When shown photos from the missing persons cases, Sarah identified Highway 32's rest stop at mile 47 as where she'd stopped before her car trouble. The surveillance footage from a newly installed camera showed a blue pickup truck entering the rest area 20 minutes before Sarah, parking at the far end of the lot, and the driver approaching several vehicles before settling on Sarah's. The footage was grainy, but one detail was clear. The man was smiling. Even alone, even when he thought no one was watching, the smile never left his face. Sarah Vega survived because she trusted her instincts. 7 others hadn't been as fortunate. Sarah's encounter changed everything. Now investigators had a witness, a pattern, and most importantly, a strategy they could warn the public about. Highway 32 rest stops were placed under surveillance. Warning signs were posted. Travelers were advised to never accept help from strangers, to wait inside locked vehicles, to verify any helpers with 911, and the disappearances stopped. For 18 months, Highway 32 was quiet. Investigators hoped the smiling man had moved on, been scared off, or perhaps died. Detective Whitmore wasn't convinced. "Predators don't stop," she told her team. "They adapt." She was right. In April 2008, 2 hikers on a trail 5 miles from Highway 32 found something that had been buried in a shallow grave and partially unearthed by wildlife. A human hand wearing a distinctive ring. The ring matched the description of one worn by Marcus Chen, the software engineer who'd vanished in 2006. The area was excavated. What they found beneath the forest floor was a nightmare. 7 bodies. 7 of the Highway 32 victims, buried in a cluster, their remains showing signs of prolonged captivity before death. Medical examiners determined they'd been held somewhere for weeks, possibly months, before being killed and dumped. But 3 bodies were still missing. Cassidy Brennan, the college student from 2003, and 2 others. Where were they? The answer came from an unexpected source: a jail cell in Montana. In September 2008, a man named Robert Finch was arrested in Montana for assaulting a woman at a rest stop. During questioning, he mentioned that he wasn't the one they should be looking for. When pressed, he told investigators, "The guy you want is the one who taught me, the one who's been doing this for 20 years, the one who smiles." Finch had met the smiling man, whose real name he claimed not to know, at a truck stop in 2007. The smiling man had seen Finch attempting to rob a stranded motorist, and instead of stopping him, he had offered advice. "You're doing it wrong. Let me show you how it's really done." According to Finch, the smiling man was a long-haul trucker who'd been hunting along highways for 2 decades, using rest stops and vehicle sabotage to find victims. The smile was deliberate, a psychological tool. He said people trust people who smile. Even when everything else is screaming danger, the smile makes them hesitate. That hesitation is all you need. Finch claimed the smiling man kept victims alive for extended periods in a modified storage unit or warehouse somewhere in southern Idaho. He'd visit them between trucking routes, returning them to reality only at the end. The bodies found in the forest were the ones he'd finished with. But Cassidy Brennan and the other two? He keeps some forever, Finch said. The ones who interest him. The ones who adapt. He said he has 3 that learn to smile back. Detective Whitmore led a massive search across southern Idaho, looking for storage facilities, abandoned warehouses, any property that might hide the smiling man's lair. They searched for months, found nothing. Meanwhile, the FBI built a profile based on Finch's testimony and the physical evidence. The smiling man was likely male, 50 to 65 years old, long-haul trucker, or similar profession requiring travel. Organized, patient, and meticulous, possibly military or law enforcement background, given his knowledge of surveillance gaps and investigation procedures. Living a double life, likely seen as a friendly, helpful community member. They released a sketch based on witness descriptions. Tips flooded in. Hundreds of men were investigated. None matched. And the smiling man had vanished more completely than his victims. In December 2011, a woman named Patricia Holmes, 45, was driving home on Highway 32 when her car broke down. She'd stopped at the Mile 47 rest stop, the same one Sarah Vega had used. Despite all the warnings, despite increased surveillance, despite everything that had been done to prevent another tragedy, Patricia's car died 15 minutes after leaving the rest area. She called 911 immediately, stayed in her locked car, did everything right. But the police response was delayed. An accident on another highway had pulled resources away. She waited 45 minutes. During that time, a blue pickup truck stopped behind her. A man got out. She described him to the 911 dispatcher, 50s, flannel shirt, and that smile. Always smiling. "Mom, do not open your door. Do not roll down your window. We have units coming." "I'm not opening anything. He's just standing there. Why is he just standing there?" "Help is 2 minutes away." "He's walking around my car now. He's trying the doors." "Oh God, he's trying the doors." The line went silent. Not disconnected, just silent. The dispatcher could hear breathing, a car door opening, and then a voice, male, calm, friendly. "Sorry about the wait. Let's get you somewhere safe." When police arrived 3 minutes later, Patricia Holmes's car was empty. Her phone was on the seat, still connected to 911. Her keys were in the ignition. Her purse was untouched. She was never seen again. Patricia Holmes's disappearance broke something in Detective Whitmore. She'd done everything right. They'd warned the public, increased patrols, monitored rest stops, and still, he'd taken someone. How had he gotten into Patricia's locked car? How had he bypassed every precaution? The answer came from forensics. Patricia's car door showed marks consistent with a Slim Jim, a tool used by locksmiths and police to open locked vehicles. The smiling man had simply unlocked her door while she was on the phone with 911, opened it and taken her. No force, no violence, just skill and patience and that horrible constant smile. But here's what truly haunts investigators. Patricia's 911 call captured something else. After the smiling man said, "Let's get you somewhere safe," there was a pause. Then Patricia's voice, quiet and confused. "Okay. Thank you for helping." She trusted him, even knowing everything she knew, even being told explicitly to stay away from him. In that moment of fear and vulnerability, she trusted the smiling man who offered help. That's the real horror. Not that a predator exists, but that we're hardwired to trust people who offer assistance. That our instinct to see the good in others, to accept help when we need it, can be weaponized against us. The smiling man hasn't been caught. As of 2024, he remains one of America's most wanted serial killers. The FBI believes he's still active, possibly operating in different regions under different methods. 4 victims, including Patricia Holmes and Cassidy Brennan, have never been found. Based on Robert Finch's testimony, they might still be alive somewhere, held in a location investigators have never found, conditioned to smile back at their captor. Highway 32 still exists. The rest stops are still open, now with heavy security and constant surveillance. But the smiling man proved that even perfect precautions can fail when a predator is patient enough. Detective Whitmore retired in 2019, haunted by the case she couldn't solve. Before leaving, she updated the Highway 32 case file with one final note. He's still out there, he's still smiling, and he's still waiting for someone to trust him. If you ever find yourself stranded on a lonely highway, especially at night, remember these rules. Lock your doors immediately, call 911, and stay on the line. Don't accept help from anyone who arrives before police. If someone approaches and insists on helping, despite your refusal, trust your instincts. If someone won't stop smiling, if the smile doesn't match the situation, if it feels wrong, drive away, even if your car is damaged. Damaged cars can be fixed. You can't. And the smiling man used our best instincts against us. He weaponized kindness, trust, and the human desire to help and be helped. He proved that monsters don't always look monstrous. Sometimes they look like the friendly neighbor who offers to jumpstart your car. Sometimes they look like the good Samaritan who stops to help. And sometimes they never stop smiling. 17 people disappeared. 7 bodies were found. 4 are still missing. 1 survived to tell her story. And somewhere on America's highways, a man in his 70s now still drives a blue pickup truck, still wears flannel shirts, still watches rest stops for vulnerable travelers, still smiling that terrible constant smile. If you see him, don't trust the smile. Your life might depend on it.